The Was there any point in time on the trip that you said to yourself, you know what, I think I may have bitten off more than I can chew?
Oh, so many times, so many times. The thing about the Volta River is that, as we know, there's the Volta Lake in the middle, and on the Volta Lake, because it's basically a big basin, there isn't a current pushing you down. In fact, there's really strong winds pushing back up. So you really have to fight to move forward at all. So it's really exhausting. But truth be told, I was never ever gonna give up because it's just not in my personality. And the whole point again is that we're doing this for a cause, and so that's really motivating to know that people are going to care about this. And if I give up now, it's going to do a disservice to the work we're doing.
Now, from point to point, where did you set off? Where did you end?
So we started in Wipe in the northern region of Ghana, and we traveled down the Black Volta first, actually, into where the black and white Volta meet and becomes the Volta River, Volta Lake, all the way down to Ada. Yeah, it was a long journey. But it was funny because for most of the journey on the lake, there's really not many people. So we would see fishermen, we would sometimes pass by communities, but mostly there wasn't that many people. And then suddenly we got to Akosombo, and there were so many people all the time. And so, but it was nice for me, and I'm sure for the crew too, to be able to really share our journey in that way.
Somebody saw me a couple of days ago and asked, we were talking about this, and asked that, yeah, did she really swim 400 and something kilometers? What would you say to those questions?
Yeah, it's sad for me to hear that, although I'm not actually surprised. I mean, it is an incredible distance, but the whole point for me about this expedition was to show people that something looks impossible, but if you break it down into smaller parts, it's really not impossible, because it's not like I swam 450 kilometers in a day. That would be impossible. I wouldn't even try. But it's like sometimes I swam 5 kilometers, sometimes I swam 8 kilometers, sometimes I swam 15. And I think that's much more believable. But we get so caught up in fear thinking that it stops us from having new experiences and also just believing in something that's exciting. It's boring to question everything and to have fear. Like, why don't you do something exciting? I want everyone to go out and have their adventure.
So I'm thinking about this, right? Yesterday I was at an Olympic-sized pool, and we're just, having some conversations, and I saw this thing. I'm just thinking to myself, 50 meters, 10 laps is half a kilometer.
Yeah.
Literally. Right? So 20 laps is a kilometer. Yeah. So literally just means that, like you said, break it down into little bits, and suddenly it's doable over a period of time.
Right, and that's how my training worked. I've been swimming my whole life, but it's not like I woke up being able to swim for 3 hours. When I first started, now, oh my God, 9 months ago or something, I could only swim maybe 30 minutes. But exactly as you're describing, I would go to the pool and I would swim for 10 lengths, and then I would swim for 30 lengths, and then I would swim for 60 lengths, or whatever it was, to be able to get to the distance. And, it's funny because I have all the people at Burma Camp know me very well by now, and they were really able to witness how you can grow to be able to do something. Mm-hmm.
That's absolutely fantastic. So let's get to the actual on-the-ground happenings. Was there any time that you felt afraid, you felt your life was in danger? I know you have a crew around you, but was there any point in time you're like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, truly, I felt very at home in the Volta River, and there was only really, really one day for less than a minute when I was afraid, and that's because, as I was mentioning, there were these huge waves and the wind was blowing so strongly. The boat is going up and down like this, and I just thought, what's going to happen when I get in the water? And I got in the water and I immediately was pushed back. Let alone, it wasn't even like I can't go forward. I was pushed back, and I was worried I wouldn't even be able to get to the boat. But, this is a real testament to training, and I just said, okay, I know my training. I just need to breathe deeply, take my time, and try. And actually it was fun. And then I swam for another hour or 2 hours, 1 hour or something. And, you know, I made my distance. It was slow, but it was fine in the end, yeah.
All right. So this swim has brought a lot of attention to you and to the advocacy that you're doing. What for you is the most important bit in terms of the advocacy? What do you want people to always walk away from a conversation remembering about the advocacy?
Well, for our global audience, I think the most important thing is, you know, our Stop Waste Colonialism campaign, where we're saying, we're creating this data, we're showing this data about the impact of secondhand clothing on the environment. And we have a community that's dealing with the problem. That community needs to be resourced. So we want to make sure that they're able to get the funds to do that. So that's our global audience, Stop Waste Colonialism. For our local audience, I think the message is more about finding the ways in which, as individuals, we can make intentional choices for sustainability that preserve the environment and that are thoughtful about our human community and our environmental community.
When you say stop waste colonialism, can you break it down for us? What does that mean?
So right now, when we talk about waste colonialism, we talk about countries in the global north basically exporting their waste, exporting the problem of waste to other countries. And in those other countries, using the resources for their own efforts, right? So for example, in Ghana right now, the colonialism is that we're being flooded with these clothing, and these clothing are ending up damaging our environment because they're going to landfills, they're going into our water bodies, they're preventing us from living the lives that we want to lead and healthily. And so what we're saying is you can't just send your waste here with no resources, with no ability for us to effectively deal with it. So there can be a trade, but if there's going to be a trade, we need to respect all the different actors along that value chain.